Yeah. Well, I just start out when I was born and where I was raised and what I'd done there, lived with my grandfather and grandmother and my mother and father.
Your father's name and so forth. Your mother's still alive, I know. Your aunt's still alive.
Well, my name is Roger Jim Sr. My Indian name is Tayat, and I was born 1931, January 9th, here in the valley. I've lived on the reservation practically all my life, although living off reservation in the Slala area for, during the fishing season. And my father was Richard Jim, and my mother's name is Nancy Jim. She's from the Columbia River Band from Spin, Wayum. My aunt, still living, Lucy Jim, and the name is Salipum. She's still living today. My father and my grandfather are both deceased. We used to live in an area called Quaiqualam. It's up there near Spring Hill on the headwaters of the Cushai Canyon. And my grandfather was a farmer. He used to farm land from the time that he was tillable in the spring until late fall, putting in his hay crop and taking care of his stock that way. And he has an allotment there, and my father and my aunt, all my people originate from there. And my other grandfather, Skumsky, Francis Jim, he had an allotment in Chobits where we presently live, on his allotment. And his family more or less put allotments in the valley in that area, in the Chobits area. I went to school in Granger High School, graduated in 1951. I spent some years in small Indian school from third grade until the 9th grade, and then I moved to Granger. But those days in boarding school were quite an experience to me. It more or less prepared me for the time I got out of high school and was drafted into the Army. It seemed I could march better than the other inductees that were there because of the military type of atmosphere in the Indian schools in the 40s and 30s, so that I was quite able to get along in the military service. But I spent some time in Korea as a paratrooper in the 187th Airborne, and spent 2 years in the service as a draftee. But today, I am a tribal councilman. I represent quite a majority of my people on a day-to-day basis, just even to the very social problems that they are involved in, and then to work for them, defending the rights that they have within this reservation, the treaty rights, land rights, and various rights that they have, right down to the present human rights that they have to contend with every day in whatever it is in everyday living as of the citizens today. But reflecting back on my childhood, I spent most of my time on the range as a wild horse chaser. Seemed like my father, my grandfather made a living off of wild horses, other than my grandfather and father being farmers in the dryland area. And then in the fall we spent some time on the Columbia fishing to sustain ourselves through the winter with fish and some of the deer that were killed during the fall, and the roots that my mother and my aunt dug for winter sustenance and food. And that, in short, is just a short look at my life as a person. My 40-some years in this country, in this world, has been quite a life. I've been a member of the Indian Sacred Church for 10 years. I owe my life to it because of the way that I had lived before. I had realized in that 10 years that there is a spiritual thing that keeps an Indian alive in respect to the other spiritual religions that the Yakimas have and all the other tribes around us that believe in the spiritual way of life. And I think that this has been one of the religions that I participated in they say it has a major factor in my life. And the other religions that exist around us, I respect them. I know that there's a way of life for our people, and that they must respect that way and live accordingly to their teachings. They'll have a long life. That is just another short part of looking to my life as a Yakima today. As a councilman, I have done as much as I can in the 7 years as a councilman.
What's your opinion on Longhouse religion?
Longhouse religion has been here a long time. It originated long before the sacred religion did. And I've never really actively participated other than just joining in the feasts and the ceremonies. I have a great respect for it. I've seen a lot of people, if they live in the way they believe, it has been beneficial to them.
Were you ever exposed to Indian doctors?
Oh yes, I know.
What are your highlights on Indian doctors?
I had an uncle from White Swan. He was a big Indian doctor. And when I was very small, he used to come to our place up in Park Island and help my grandfather, my aunt, and whoever was sick. But being part of the family, I don't think he was, charged as much as any doctor did. But it is a spiritual thing. It is a gift to the person to heal, to help a person, which I think was at that time something that our great Maker had made available to our people in order to exist in this world. That it was a gift from the great Maker to keep one another alive.
What's your opinion on the white man's religion? That is, I just want to probe into that, what you know about white man's religion.
Well, to look back on the 10 years that I spent as a Shaker, I realized that the Shaker religion was the closest thing to Christianity, as white man's religions are. They base their religion on the Bible and what was supposedly happened in the rebirth of an individual, and the bringing of the Word and the Ten Commandments and such to the people in order for them to, overcome the dark way of life, what we consider sinful. In their language, it's a sin to be a drinker and whatever, adulteress and whatever else that they consider sinful. And I think the white man religion is something that it belongs to them. It doesn't belong to the Indian. The Indian have their own religion. The Indian religion was a hard, fast rule. There was no give or take in the white Indian religion. It seems that the white man religion is very lenient. That's why you have so many of them. The religions, they branch off from one another. Although they have one base religion, then you have several other little religions that base their doctrine on that one religion, say like Protestantism and Catholics and whatever, maybe even the Mormons. And I contradict a lot of the Mormon way because of the fact they try to claim the Indian as their lost tribe. But the Indian never was lost. They had their own. and they still have it today. And I think it's the only culture that is right in its own basic way yet from the very beginning that they received it, which is your Indian religion, your way of knowing that everything was made for the use by them. Like everything that is grown today was for a purpose, and Indians were put here for a purpose, and I think they've shown that purpose today.
On another subject, were you ever exposed to Indian medicine, herbs, and so on, potions?
Oh, yes. When I was very young, there was no way to get to a doctor for a cut or whatever, and some of it would seem vulgar to the dominant society today. If you really cut yourself, you would put something on it, or you would even go so far as to urinate on it to cut the bleeding. And these things were, looked at as very primitive or backward, but it was a means of saving the tissues or whatever by doing that. And there was potions made to say help you forget or something, things like that. There was some things I don't know about even myself, but there was medicines made from the bark, or medicines made from pine needles for cold, or fir needles made for cold that you would, and tea made from it, so you drink it so you cut the coughing and the congestion in your chest and stuff like that. Those things was kind of like everyday remedies, but the Indian people has a lot more to contribute in remedies than the medicines you find in drugstores today.
Have you ever heard of anybody obtaining spiritual power that you know of, like Swati or something like that? How do you come to acquire such a gift of power?
That's something that's hard to answer in the sense of not being exposed to, I say, to have the old Indian tradition of fasting and making the individual try to acquire that, or even an individual saying, I'm going to go to the mountains and acquire a spirit of some sort. But I can imagine by just the spiritual exposure I had as a shaker, I could see that the individual that we were working with and helping did have something other than just an ordinary person, because of the spiritual contact you have when you're under the power of the shaker religion itself. You are, say, like on an even plane with a person that has acquired an Indian spirit, or what you call a medicine. But I've never really had the exposure to that to say that I know that it's really is. But I could just say that I've known people to have that spirit that could heal. It must come from somewhere, whether it's an animal spirit or a spirit from, a healing power from God or the great nature. And that's the only way I could say. And I went to Indian gathering where they show that, like the smokehouse on the coast, where people are novices and there are people that are in different categories of, say, having a spirit. The novice is trying and dedicating himself to acquire his spirit. And they have certain rituals to go through in the smokehouse. I've never really been to an Indian medicine dance to know, other than to participate as a dancer and to witness the way they sing and the way they dance and the powers I could not explain about. That's about as far as I know about Indian doctors.
I think that's all I have. All the questions that
can't read that. Yes, I speak it a little bit. Kuch nazar ni isin sanat. Aku khlakwa yakmani sanat. Subai sanat dakna gum namako natkhana sanam tkhis yakma sanat. That's why that I don't really speak my Indian language to my people, other than just personal contact with her. Then I can speak to my aunt, my mother, or talk with my friends, because they can speak it. Then I'll speak along with them.
That's Klickat language.
No.
Isn't that right?
Klickat or Kin or whatever you call it. Wayam language.
Wayam.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly Cranberry River Band.
Yeah.
That language.
Yes. Anything else?
Okay, that's about all I have. I think that I ran out of questions myself too.
Well, that was all right. I mean, it makes me reflect back. Just how am I? You know, what do I go through? You know? Yeah.
You can write phonetic.
That was my aunt's father. My aunt died quite a while ago. I don't remember her English name. She was Kelly Cunningh's wife. Lived in Katy. She was all crippled up and then.
Oh, you got a pencil. You can read it over and then you can press it. This is the white man's rule that we have to follow by